my name is Marie Crehan and I'm currently working with St Hilda Services here in Athlone, and I'm working in what's called the Adult Training Centre, so it's part of the Adult Day Services. I'm not that long with St Hilda's, and I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes, but I spent over 20 years working with National Learning Network, who were the training and education part of the rehab group here in Athlone. So I've had a lot of experience in the disability sector, mainly of social care. I started doing this, the postgraduate steps programme. It was first introduced to me by my line manager at the time during a staff development review, who said, I think this would be very good module to look at. And it was just a module, the person-centred planning module as it was at the time, person-centred approaches. And at that time, New Directions was very new and it was coming on board, and we all had to be working with people with disabilities in a new way. So person-centred approaches was a very good way to focus our work, really. I really enjoyed that module, and I don't think I ever had any intention of doing a master's, but I think after that I was hooked, to tell you the honest truth. That's why I really stayed going with it. The first day I went in, I was only going to do a module, and what I liked about it as well was that all of the different modules that we did throughout the master's, they were all awards in their own right, you know, which was great, because sometimes you can do a couple of courses and they never amount to anything, whereas all of these, they were awards. I did behaviour as a challenge, conflict resolution, the dissertation and research, and mental health law and policy. I have to say I found all of them very practical and very useful in my work. I think no matter where you go, you're going to find behaviours that challenge, especially in social care. So that was very relevant and very useful, and I'd say I refer to it almost every day.
Wow.
Well, even, you know, you have your policy at work, and you sort of say, well, I know that, I've heard that before. You're comfortable with reading it, you're comfortable with, and you have a very good understanding, and it helps then in relating it to other staff. The conflict resolution module I absolutely loved. It might sound a little bit like we were all trying to solve all sorts of conflicts, but it was a really useful module, because I think it helped us to manage ourselves in almost every relationship that you're in work, be it with a colleague, with other friends, on a team, or with management, or as a manager. I think we all have to manage our relationships and see how you yourself impact on other people in a group. And if there is a difference of opinion, not necessarily a huge conflict, I'm not talking about massive rows, I'm just saying that in terms of a difference of opinion, how you manage yourself and how you present your side of the story is very important. So I found that hugely practical, and we did a lot of role play in that, and most people shy away from role play, but I found that, you know, at least you said, well, I did that, you know, and it was really useful. So that was probably one of my favourite modules. The research was very useful. I worked in the disability sector for a long time, and I focused on friendships, really, for people with intellectual disability, and whether they have friendships outside of that group of people with disabilities. Do they have friends with people who don't have a disability? And it's something I've always been interested in, and so I found that quite useful, and maybe a motivator to try and help me in my work at the moment then to broaden the networks of people with intellectual disability in their everyday lives. But I really loved going into class every week, and that sounds like a real school lick, but anyway, I really enjoyed it because we had a wonderful group and we had lovely lively discussions, and there were so many people from different organisations there, and everybody had a different story to tell. And what I thought was, you know, my massive problem or something wonderful I did, somebody else had another side to it, and it was really, we learned so much from one another, and we were allowed lots of scope from our lecturers to share our experiences. And I think that's the bit I missed the most. You know, there was such a lovely group,
very good,
and a very interesting group. And again, I suppose you went in with one idea and you ended up saying, well, God, I no harm to look at it from another perspective. So it really broadened my own thinking. I'd like to say maybe about the entire course, and that what I really found good about it. It was very current, very up to date. It was bang on. So the guest speakers were people who were maybe not just lecturers in the sense, but they were living this every day. What they were talking about, that was their live experience. So they were bang up to date on what they were talking about. Now another guest speaker, he did a map and a path with us, and there are tools for person-centred planning, and I hadn't actually experienced those before, so we did them in a group with one person, and I found that was, you got to really feel for it as well, so you could almost imagine what it would be like for the person who was having their path or having their map. John, I thought that was very useful, and I've used them since. Behaviour as a challenge, very useful again. As I say, all of them: conflict resolution, mental health law and policy, I suppose the big thing for me, and it doesn't happen that often because of the way the current situation in employment is, but I was very, very lucky in that a position became available just as I finished the Masters. And all of what we had studied in the previous 3 years left me in a really, really good position to do an interview. And I'm really lucky I got a new job. So, and I am lucky, I know that, but there's no doubt in my mind I would not have been able to do my interviews as well were it not for what I learned in the postgraduate steps module. I was up to date. I didn't have to go digging for information to prepare for. No, I had to prepare for an interview, but it was just there for me.
Yeah.
I had a really good understanding of what I wanted to get across. It was very relevant for questions that came up in my interview. I just felt more comfortable, more confident, and it is a qualification, and we're looking for somebody with a qualification as well. So it really helped me. I would recommend it to anybody who's thinking of doing a Masters if they're looking for something in the social care sector. It's very achievable. I think anybody with a family as well, it makes it easier. There's no way I would think I would have been able to go to college and be gone for a couple of days a week. That would be very difficult. Now, it's not easy doing it at the kitchen table either, but it certainly is achievable. It's doable, and I wouldn't tell anyone to be afraid of it. I think it's challenging, of course. If it wouldn't be worth having if it wasn't challenging.
Yeah.
It has to have that challenge in it, but it's certainly doable, and the support we get from the college and from lecturers, I think, is second to none. And I just had a great time.